People believe more in people than they believe in businesses. 5 years ago, if you had asked me if we really needed to do personal branding, I would have said no. Because people brought from businesses, people loved businesses. It was always the high rises and the big ivory towers that we looked up to. But today, people don't buy from businesses anymore. People buy from people. People believe more in people. People want someone to relate with. And once they relate with the person in the business, then they think about whether they want to buy from the business or not. My name is Sudharsan Anganapathy. I worked with over 450 entrepreneurs on building their personal brands online, and I've trained over 50,000 people on personal branding. I think it's my moral responsibility to teach you and reintroduce personal branding to you. What's a personal brand? Who is a personal brand? Every time we hear this word personal brand, we think of a celebrity. If personal brand was a celebrity, we wouldn't need two words, right? They're two different words. Let me give you the difference. A celebrity is someone who is known, someone who is famous. A personal brand is someone who is famous for a reason, someone who is famous for an idea. Let me make it clear. A celebrity is in the spotlight. A personal brand is the spotlight. A celebrity goes, hey, look at me. A personal brand goes, hey, look at this. They point you to an idea, they point you to a business, they point you to something that they know. They want you to see that and not them. If you want people to look at you, which means you want to be a celebrity, which is okay, which is perfectly okay. But if you want to stand for an idea, to stand for a business, to put a face to an idea, to put a face to a business, then you're a personal brand. We think there is being known is the only thing about personal branding, right? But there's a huge matrix to this. The first start of this matrix is being known. If you want to be known, you simply have to be visible and add value, right? You start posting content online, you start being seen in every place that adds value, and you'll be known. You'll be known as someone who is visible and someone who adds value. But that's only the first step of personal branding. The second step is being trusted. Do people really trust you? Virality is not credibility. Virality is one thing, credibility is another. You could be viral, but are you credible? People might love you, but would they do business with you? People do business with people who they trust. Are you building enough trust? To build enough trust, we need proof. Are people talking about you? Is your service really valid? Is your product really good? Is it really adding value to the market? That's being trusted. And then comes being desired. Sometimes people don't just work with you because they love your product or your service. People want to work with you because they want to be seen with you. What does that mean? We use big brands. We use designer logos. We use German cars. We use an iPhone. Why do we do it? It's definitely not for the features. It's definitely not for what it offers us. It's much more than that. We want to be seen with those brands. It's not the use of the brand, it's just being seen with the brand. When you are desired, people want to be seen working with you. It's not the service you offer. The service is more or less the same. The product is more or less the same. But the brand value comes in. That's being desired. And the fourth one is being referred. Once you're desired, people want to refer you because people love being part of something that's bigger than themselves. People want to be part of a tribe. Why do you think we follow actors? Why do we think we identify ourselves as part of a political ideology? Why do we think that we identify ourselves as part of a specific religious group? Because we always want to be part of something bigger than themselves. And that is where being referred comes in. People want to join people into their tribe. An iPhone user naturally wants other people in their circle to use an iPhone. A Mercedes user naturally wants their friends to use a Mercedes. Because people want to include their friends into their circle. There are two parts to this. We will talk about being known today, and there are two parts to this. The first part is consistency, and the second part is visibility. In terms of consistency, let's start talking about consistency. Next one. The number. All right. You see this number, 1755, right? Today is my 1755th day of consistently creating content online without a single day's break. Which means I'm here to show you it's possible, right? And this is definitely not because of motivation. I'll tell you what all happened in the past 1755 days in my life. I started creating content on April 1st of 2021. So my son was born on April 5th of 2021, which means I had to take care of my newborn, my wife, and the relatives who came to see my wife and my son. And we shifted house thrice. I changed car twice. I've traveled to 6 countries, expanded my business to the US and the UK. My grandfather died. My wife's grandmother died. My grandmother died. My father-in-law passed away. Right? A lot of things happened. But I can assure you that's what will happen in someone's life who is in their 30s. I'm 34 years old, and this is what would happen in almost every 30-year-old's life. But in spite of that, I kept creating content, which means it is definitely not because of motivation. If it was only because of motivation, there were days where I was not motivated because there were not a lot of positive things happening in my life that time, right? It's because of systems. You build systems and you stick to it, and you're going to stay consistent no matter what. There's this beautiful saying in a book called Atomic Habits by James Clear. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. You could have big goals, but you don't have systems matching your goals. You will only achieve to a point where your system matches. You either reduce your goals to the level of your systems or increase your systems to the level of your goals. I would suggest the latter. Here's the simplest system ever that I use. Use a calendar. It's the simplest system. No, something that everybody's been talking about, and it's very easy to use, but not a lot of people use. Now, knowing is not doing, right? We all know it, but what if we do it? I've been using a calendar since 2012, and it's been 14 years now, and I can backtrack every single appointment that I've done for the past 14 years with the name, time, and place. That's how beautifully we've crafted our life, and you can live by a calendar. Live by a calendar is the easiest way of removing anxiety. Trust me, if you know what's coming up next, you won't have anxiety. Anxiety is a result of uncertainty, right? You don't know what's coming up next. You don't know where you're going in life. So you're anxious. What if you know where you're going in life? What if you know what's happening in the next hour? What if you know what's happening tomorrow? You will not be anxious. Yeah, once you eliminate anxiety from your life, you start seeing growth. Next one. All right. Coming to digital assets. Why do I call it assets? Assets are something that you build once and it pays you forever. It pays you over and over again, right? That's why we call it digital assets. The first asset that you can build is through writing. I know people who can write amazingly well. I know there are quite a few people here who can write amazingly well. And writing is a skill, right? If you know something, if you can do something, I think you must do it. Because what you don't use, you lose. Some of us would be skilled writers. But what if we don't employ it? There's this beautiful saying, what you don't employ, you forfeit. What you don't use, you lose. If you can write really well, start writing. Start writing on all these platforms. There are 5 different platforms that you can write on, right? There's Facebook, there's blogging, there's Twitter, there's LinkedIn, there's newsletters. You can write on all platforms. What if you can speak? What if you have the gift of speaking? You can speak on stages like this. You can speak on a podcast. It could be an audio podcast, right? That's speaking. What if you can show your face? What if you are gutsy and you can show your face? You can be on Instagram, you can be on YouTube, you can be on video podcasts. What I'm meaning to say is that employ your skill that you already have to create content. You don't have to reinvent anything. You don't have to be good at all these three things to start doing content. But you could be asking this question, but Sudhar, you've been talking about all these platforms. Should I be on all platforms? Isn't it difficult? No, the answer is you don't have to be on all platforms. You just have to be on 3 platforms. I'm talking about building a multi-million-dollar business by only being on 3 platforms. Would that be cool? I think that's cool. The first platform is primary. Primary platform. There are 3 rules for a primary platform. The first rule is that it must have high organic reach. The second rule is that the content should be short form. And the third rule is that it should be easy to discover. As soon as I say these things, a few platforms would come to your mind. Short form content, very good reach, and easy to discover. Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok. These are all platforms. YouTube Shorts. These are all platforms that can help you be your primary platform and give you a large reach. Then comes secondary platform. There are a few rules for secondary platform too. Long form content, very high value, and search friendly. Long form content. What are those platforms? It could be YouTube long form content. It could be podcasts. It could be blogs. If you can write, it's blog. If you can speak, it's podcast. If you can show your face, it's YouTube long form content, right? Those are secondary platforms. And your primary content acts as a gateway to your secondary content. Because secondary platform, it's very difficult to figure out. It's difficult for people to just stumble upon you while they scroll. Because people can't scroll between long form content, right? So people discover you through your primary platform, and then they go to your secondary platform. And then comes a community platform. There are 3 rules for a community platform once again. You own the data. It should be very long form content, which is in-depth case studies and real data points. And since it's community, people will have a very high intent to buy. As soon as I say this, a few platforms would come to your mind already. Newsletter. It's because you own data, you own email IDs, right? It could be a WhatsApp community, you own phone numbers. It could be a Telegram group, you own phone numbers. So you can build your own community and make commerce out of it. But trust me, content cannot turn into commerce without a community in between. Content to commerce is not possible. Content to community to commerce works. Especially if you run a business. I'm not talking about becoming a celebrity. I'm not talking about being an influencer and doing brand deals and making money. I'm talking about having a business and growing your business through content. If you have a business and you have to grow it through content, you have to go through a community. Because if people don't feel like they're part of your community, they will not buy from you. Next one. How do you measure personal brand growth? How do you measure growth? Is it through followers? Is it through views? I believe the best way to measure the personal brand growth is through opportunity flow. Are people trusting you? Are people paying you money? Are people buying from you? People have these vanity metrics like views and followers to build their personal brand, to measure their personal brand. I would suggest that you measure your personal brand through your bank balance. How about that? Building a real business through your personal brand is what you need. You don't need empty followers, because I think fame is not a worthy metric to pursue. Wealth is a worthy metric. Impact is a worthy metric. Real change is a worthy metric, but not fame. Fame is always a byproduct of everything that you do. If you're really creating an impact, if you're really creating value, if you're really creating wealth, fame naturally follows. But in today's world, fame has to be engineered. It cannot be left to luck. And that's where personal branding comes into play. If you are a personal brand, the impact that you can create is endless. Thank you.